Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Hype Teen TV. I am Dr. Nick here with our amazing youth panelists. And you know, Hype Teen TV show is a platform where teens can come, they can address their issues and share, they can learn, they can speak on things and truly just grow together. And that is the reason we have this platform. So we have our amazing teen panelists again this week. So we have AJ, we have Nyla, we have Janaya, and we have Sydney. Say hello to everybody, you guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Awesome. How are you guys doing today?
Decent.
Decent?
Good.
Good. All right, have good. Any good news? Anything happening that we want to share?
I got my graduation date, May 27th.
All right, graduation date, May 27th. Yes, congratulations. Awesome. Any other good news? Nothing else happening that's good in your lives? Y'all trying to be shy because we have a guest.
Oh no. Don't do that.
All right, don't. As I say, don't do that. So nothing else happening in life in the world. How school is good. Everybody we still virtual? Are we going back? Where are we at now?
I'm still virtual.
Yeah, we're still virtual too.
Everybody's still virtual. Okay. Well, the new norm, everybody's adapting. So, you know, in this plight of the pandemic, many young people have really been struggling with adapting to this new norm. You know, now we are have a lot of social distancing. Things are changed, and some young people are finding it hard to cope with the time. I was reading that the CDC said that 1 in 4 young adults have struggled with suicidal thoughts since the coronavirus hits. And the rates of suicide throughout the nation and even suicide attempts are higher in the month of the pandemic in 2020 compared to that those rates in 2019. And that's according to a study of 11 to 20-year-olds. So we're seeing a higher rates of suicide-related behaviors. So we thought that it would behoove us and be beneficial to come to this platform and bring awareness to this topic. And I think it will be something that is needed and something that will be helpful for not only our panelists, but all of the young people that are watching, and to help bring awareness to teen suicide and what are some of the things that we can do to help in that area. So we wanted to make sure that we were giving you correct information, and only way to do that is to go to the experts to do that. So we have a special guest. Yes, I said it. We have a special guest today that's going to help us bring awareness and address the issue of teen suicide, and just kind of guide our conversation today. So today, I want to welcome Ms. Carla Cater to Hype Teen TV. And just to let you know a little bit about Carla, she is a licensed associate professional counselor who is a true passion for working with children, adolescents, and families who experience complex trauma. She holds a Master's of Arts degree in clinical mental counseling and is a national certified counselor. She blends clinical skills and training with humor, play, creativity, and to really create an environment and an atmosphere so people can experience the things that they need to in a safe, non-judgmental, trusting way, allowing her clients to explore and work through their challenges. So Carla has special interest in helping children and teenagers who have experienced trauma, depression, and loss. She comes alongside and walks with her clients, and I know Carla personally. I know her heart. I know her passion. for young people and truly for the work that she does in helping young people heal. So we are excited outside of her professional career. Carla is a writer, she's an educator, and an active volunteer with the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. She's a wife, a mother. She loves her family. I love her family as well. Love her friends. She likes to dance. She's like me. She's a dancer. So I'm just excited to have her on Hype Teen TV to help us address this issue and talk about it. So welcome, Carla, to Hype Teen TV.
Hey, woo, Dr. Nicole, you made me sound like I'm somebody.
Hey.
I mean,
I don't hang out with punks now. Come on. So you know you doing it.
Well, I thank you guys so much. I am so excited to be with you guys tonight. And each time that I get an opportunity to talk to young people, old people, people in between, about mental health and healing, I just jump at the opportunity. This is my passion. This is something that I love to do each and every day. And I'm just really fortunate and blessed to do something that really doesn't seem like a job to me. So I thank you guys, Dr. Nick, not only for inviting me and allowing me to be a part of your space, but I appreciate you guys for showing up. So I'm excited to be here. This is a topic that I cannot stress enough that we need to continue the conversation, start the conversation and continue it. And so I welcome the invitations, and I get excited when I see young people like you who are questioning and want answers on how to improve not only your well-being, but maybe the information that we talk about today can help someone that you know. So I'm excited.
We are excited to have you. We have, so I am going to kind of step out because I want this conversation to be led by our young people because they're the ones that are affected and going through this. So they have prepared questions for you, and I'm going to allow them to have their voice. So we're ready to kind of jump off and just ask your questions. You know, she's here for you. Again, remember her bio, she's here to give you this is a safe environment. So just truly what's on your heart and what are some of the things that you want to know? So let's start it off.
Well, my first question is, what led you to go into the mental health field?
That's a good question. For me, I was affected personally. I had family members, I had nieces, I had cousins that were struggling with suicidal thoughts. I had people that would kind of call me and say, hey, you know, what can I do? And again, I've experienced that with my own family. Just people that don't know what to do. And I'm talking about children, not knowing what to do, not really having the coping skills and mechanisms just to really calm themselves and self-regulate. And so it was family. I saw it firsthand with family and friends. And I was the person that was like, what's making them act this way? You know, what is it about the mind? And so it intrigued me. And so I went back to school and I was just so interested in like what makes a person do this, what makes a person feel this way. And so the brain and the body are just things that intrigue me, and I'm a forever learner. So I'm always reading, because if a person is exhibiting or experiencing something, I'm like, because it's a reason. It's a reason why we all do and feel the things that we do. We just don't know why. And so that family and friends, that was the main reason, and hoping that I can learn something myself to be more self-aware. Good question. Good question.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Okay.
So, since the beginning of the pandemic, a lot of kids like my age, like teens, are like virtual. And do you think like the rating of like teen suicides because of like our influence on social media and technology?
Yes, our mental health is being influenced by, even before the pandemic, our mental health was influenced by social media. And especially when, I don't know if you guys remember, during the summer when Black Lives Mattered, I know I saw it increase a lot in my clients because they were on social media. They were hearing the stories about George Floyd over and over, and they was searching for this story and that story. And so what you have to keep in mind, everything that your body takes in affects not only your physical health, but your mental health. So yes, ma'am, social media affects it. The type of music you listen to affects your mental health. The things that we eat. I'm a big proponent when I work with my clients. I'm asking, what are you eating? What are you, how is your sleep? Because all of those things affect the way that we feel. And keep in mind, we talk a lot about physical health and losing weight and eating the right things and drinking enough water. But we also need to really have that conversation about our mental health. You really can't talk about one without talking about the other. And so social media, the things that we eat, the things that we allow to come in our bodies, all of those things affect our mental health. That's a good question. Y'all coming with it.
They're good.
That's one of the questions you get. Okay, that was good. And so one of the things, and I'm so glad that Dr. Nicole asked me to talk about, is the effects of suicidal thoughts. Dr. Nicole brought up 1 in 4. So that means out of the people that are on this panel, somebody may possibly be struggling with suicidal thoughts. And so, and it is increasing with children of color. Well, I'll say this, across all ethnicities, and especially with the pandemic. And a lot of people say, well, why? Well, you have to realize before the pandemic, we were allowed to go out and do our everyday things. We are social beings. And when they started saying social distance, I was like cringing. I like the word physical distance because we're all social. We all like to connect. And so when the pandemic happened and we couldn't do that for a while, a lot of teens, a lot of children, a lot of adults, their mood started to change. their mood started to change. You know, you weren't able to see your friends at school. A lot of things that we take for granted. Being able to go in your car and go hang out with friends or go to a dance. A lot of those things kind of halted. And so it affected our mental health. A lot more young people became depressed. They became sad because they couldn't go play football, or they couldn't go do cheerleading or whatever they used to do. A lot of children became more anxious. You know, they're used to getting up and moving instead of just sitting down, being in front of a computer. And so we saw an increase and we learned that young people didn't have the skills to cope. And so this pandemic has just affected all of us. As a person that hasn't stopped working since the pandemic, I have seen an increase in suicidal thoughts, anxiety, depression, and abuse. And so, well, go ahead.
My question is like, how does like the conversation of mental health affecting teens make you feel personally? Like, how do you feel about having to talk about a teenager's mental health?
I welcome the conversation. I get excited because for so long, especially in our culture, it was something we didn't talk about. In the Black culture with Black families, we don't talk about trauma. We don't talk about depression. Or if we do, it's the opposite. It's like everything you do, you're depressed, you know, so it's like one or the other. And so I get excited when young people say, you know, Miss Carla, I'm feeling sad, Miss Carla, or I have a parent to call me and say, what do you think I should do? Because the word is getting out there. Mental illness has such a negative connotation. You know, back in the day in our culture, you know, it was you're crazy. Oh, don't talk to that family member. Y'all know we all got one. We all got that one family member where you didn't really know what was going on with them, but you knew it was something, and everybody just labeled it crazy. And so for many of us, Dr. Nicole and my age, we grew up where there was just certain things we didn't talk about. But I want to say on this platform today, just because you don't talk about it doesn't mean it's going to go away. And so when people come to me, when I get opportunities like this to share with you guys, I welcome it, because my hope is that you can take something that you will be able to go out and share with those of you that you are around, you know, your friends or your family. You will be able to recognize and identify, wait a minute, Susie kind of been off. There'll be some red flags and some things that you recognize. And what we have to continue to do, you know, there is help out there. There's help, but healing is a choice. And for some people, they may be scared, but help is out there. And so the more we talk about it, the more we change the narrative, the more we start to chop down that stigma that is something bad to talk about, when it's the opposite. It's like your physical health. And I could go on and on. So, you know, if you have a question, just jump in, because like Dr. Nicole said, I want this to be a conversation. I want you to be free to say, well, you know what, I had, or you know somebody that had it, and what can we do to prevent it? Because it's going to take all of us. You know, I can't necessarily reach the people that you reach. And so it's going to take all of us.
Great point.
I recently started getting like counseling, and
Okay.
my therapist, we had a conversation in our last meeting about, she was just letting me talk. I was talking about how it's such a big stigma, especially in the Black community, when it comes to mental health and mental illnesses, and how it's more seen like, oh, you can walk it off, you're fine. It's not, it's like something that, oh, you hit and you just go over, but that's not how it is. Because like, especially when you suffer from like depression, which I have done before, it's not something that's like, oh yeah, it's happening, I'm gonna move past it and it's gone. No, it's something that's gonna stick with you for a very long time, possibly your whole life, because even when you're good, you can just fall back into that. And it's more seen like, oh yeah, that's white people stuff. That's for crazy people. And it's like, oh yeah, when you try to talk about it, it's like you're not depressed. You're not. You anxiety, what are you anxious about? It's like, okay, but I do feel something, and you're not giving me this space, this platform to tell you about it. So now it's like maybe there is like something wrong with me, or maybe there isn't, and it's all in my head, or like you're doing this for attention, and you're like, well, am I doing this for attention? And you're like, no, and it's just kind of leaving these people that are going through stuff in this space. Is kind of like they feel trapped because they don't know where to go. So my question really is, what can we do to make mental illness less of an anomaly in the community?
Well, I think one way to start that is to have the conversation. And the things that you said are what I hear over and over from youth and teens. You know, people are always telling me to get over it. I don't know who wrote that, but whoever wrote that, we just need to let that die. And I think because I believe that because we're not educated, again, going back to what I just said about our culture, you know, people didn't know about or talk about depression. People didn't talk about even abuse, because why? What went on in the home stayed in the home, and that has messed us up, because you just laid it out perfectly. If you know, if I'm going to you and you telling me, well, you cutting yourself because you just want attention and keep that in the house, then I'm stuck. I'm afraid to go ask for help because I'm supposed to keep it all in the house, but you're not helping me. So what we have to do is what we're doing, have settings like this. What we do at my church, we had a whole 6-week training on just mental health in the church. One of the things that I do, I go around and talk about suicide and what it looks like and what we can do to prevent it. And so I think it's slowly beginning to change, especially now that we have celebrities that are coming out and say, hey, I suffer from depression. Hey, like Lecrae. I love Lecrae. Lecrae went for therapy. If you listen to his new album, he went to therapy. So I think it's changing. How do you do it? First of all, we have to be comfortable ourselves talking about it. We have to be comfortable and know, number one, it's okay to say, you know what, I'm not doing well today. It's okay to say, you know what, today wasn't a good day for me. The danger comes when you get stuck with that. But I think when we start being real with ourselves and having those real conversations, then it's slowly changing. So what do you do when you go to somebody and you have those feelings and those thoughts and they just brush you off? You find somebody else. That's what I tell my people. I'm like, you find somebody else that's trusted, that will listen, that will make you feel heard. And we are out there, whether it's Dr. Nick, whether it is a trusted teacher, whether it is your school counselor, it is people out there that will listen to you. And so to answer your question, we have to begin to talk about it with no shame, talk about it with no judgment. That's the first thing. And so, well, let me just, before the next question, let me just start with some baselines, with just some basic terminology, because I believe when we talk about suicide, it's important. And again, it comes with changing the narrative, to use the correct language. So, for example, we don't say committed suicide. We don't say a person, they used to say that when somebody died by suicide, they committed suicide. We want to begin to even change that language, because that is a negative connotation. So when you talk about suicide, you want to say either this person died by suicide, or you want to say this person ended their life, or they killed themselves. And so even the group ASFP that I'm a part of, we noticed that. So we're even trying to educate people on how you have that conversation. It starts with the language and how you identify it. Also, it's a myth that people that commit suicide, they're weak. How many of you have heard of that? I don't know if you have, but I heard that they're weak. They were cowards. If they killed themselves, they just didn't, it wasn't all of that. I've heard all of those things from youth all the way up to adults. And what we have to begin to realize, people that suffer with suicidal thoughts, people that kill themselves, they are in so much pain that they think the only way for them to survive is if they were no longer alive. Now, I don't know about you. I've been in some pain, but I've never been in a pain that's so much to bear that I didn't think I would get through it. And so even that part of the conversation, well, that person killed themselves because they were this or they were that. They were weak. From an adult, I hear that all the time, Dr. Need. But why they couldn't do this? That was just a coward way out. Do you know how much strength it takes to pull a gun or to take a bottle of pills? That's not something that you just casually do. And so as we begin to talk to our friends, know first that they are in pain, whether it's psychological, whether it's physical. The pain is so unbearable, and that the only way that they can relieve that pain is for them to kill themselves. And that's real. That's real.
Absolutely. And I thank you for sharing and helping us bring awareness to even change our mindset of what suicide is, and how one's mindset is when in thinking about that. Because like you, again, in our culture, we hear these things, right? Oh, they are weak, or what, they could have done this, they didn't have to do that. And we don't know what people are going through. And to hear that our young people are getting to the point that they are in so much pain at such 11 years old, 9 years old. I read these stories about, students being bullied, and they decide they're in so much pain and they decide to take their life. And, when you hear that kind of stuff, it's heart-wrenching. And to know that a young person is so much in pain. So just helping, and you're teaching a lot, and I'm learning a lot from you, just even experience and bringing awareness to me of how I see things and how now I'm going to talk about things. So thank you for sharing that and enlighten us on how to change the narrative. I think that's really important.
And again, it's all of us. I did not hear about a Black person or recognizing a Black person killing themselves until 17 years ago. I was working in an after-school program. I was a private pre-K teacher for a Lutheran church. And one of the workers, her 12-year-old son, hung himself. He hung himself because he was gay. He was being bullied. He didn't know how to come out to his parents. And so again, it brings up a broader conversation for every person that kills themselves by suicide. There are 25 attempts. For boys, boys use lethal methods, guns. Girls take pills. We continue to do research because there is no set thing that causes suicidal thoughts. What we found out, it's a combination. It's a combination of what you're dealing with at home. It's a combination of what you're dealing with your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your friends. It's a combination of school. It's a combination. Like who was it? What's the designer? I want to say Kate Moss, but it's not her. When we hear about the suicide, a lot of times people think something big happened. Oh, they had a divorce, they killed themselves. Mm-hmm. A lot of times it's a lot of things that add up. Suicide is rarely one big, huge event. But it's several, it's like all of those things that I've named that have gone on for quite some time. So jump in, because I can talk about this all day and we only have a little time, and I want to make sure that you be able to ask your questions and really leave here with knowing more than when you first came on. So jump in. You're not jumping.
Okay, so
jump in.
Question.
Okay.
So a few like a year ago or so, I had like a friend who was like having a little bit of some suicidal thoughts, and was like going through my mind was like why, like I don't want to like ask like that like specific question to her, but I'm like, but like why do you have these thoughts? Because like you have a family that loves you, and I guess she was in pain and she didn't really feel that way. So
yeah.
So what I did was when she told me that the thoughts were going like deeper in her mind, I told someone, because I didn't want her to do anything that she would regret and that I would regret and not saying anything. So I told her teacher, and she got counseling stuff, which I really glad about that. And there's also like some like guy on like an app called TikTok. Some guy like killed himself on live, and it was reposted everywhere. So my question is like how do you detect that someone is going through that thoughts, and what do you do when like a friend or a family member is going through something like that?
Well, I think you just told us. You listen, and what I would caution us, what we see on the outside may not be a true representation of what someone is dealing with. And so let's talk about red flags. If you have someone that tells you, that's a red flag. If you have someone that used to they were like this real energetic person, they was into this, that, and the other, and all of a sudden they isolate, they withdraw themselves, that's a red sign. If you have a friend or know of someone that their eating and sleeping patterns change, that's a sign. if you know that somebody starts to give away their stuff, but they don't want to be, and we're not talking about like maybe for a couple of days, because sometimes people are just in a funk. But we're talking about days and weeks, and this person used to be one way and they made this dramatic change. Then, like you just did, go tell a teacher, especially if you don't feel confident. Go tell a teacher. And then just go ask them, hey, what's going on? If you feel comfortable doing that, some of them will do just like your friend said. They'll tell you, lately, things are not going right. I'm doing this, that, and the other. So you did the right thing. That's what you do. You go and tell someone to get them some help, because the goal for us is not to try to solve it or save them, so to speak. If you see, it's like if somebody had a broken leg. See how I got to keep bringing it back? Because if somebody had a broken leg and you saw, what would you do? You will go get help. You will go tell somebody. It's the same thing. When you see those red flags, you notice it. If you feel comfortable asking them, say, hey, I kind of notice, you're not feeling like your normal self. Can you tell me what's going on? If they tell you, if they say, you know what, I don't want to talk about it, go to a trusted. Notice I keep saying trusted adult and not just any old adult. So those are the steps that you can take. Great question, because again, when people are so suicidal thoughts only last, they're temporary. But when people are having those thoughts, they are not thinking rationally, right? So it's like when you think about the worst pain you felt, think about the worst pain you ever felt, and somebody asks you directions to your house. You may not be able to tell them because you're in so much pain. When a person is experiencing suicidal thoughts, it's the same thing. We trying to well, tell us what happened. No.
When
go
it
ahead.
comes to people having suicidal thoughts, I think it's important that we eliminate the negative connotation around suicidal people or people that do end up killing themselves. Because there's always, like you were talking about before, saying they were not weak, they were weak, they were cowards, blah, blah, blah. But there's also that's selfish. They're selfish.
Oh,
They're
yes.
And I think just by you saying that, you become selfish because you're not thinking about what position they were in to end it all. You're not thinking about that. You're thinking about how you're feeling and how this person's feeling. And you're not thinking about the person that was actually going through it. And I think it's important that we just eliminate the whole negative veil over people that suffer through this and just think, oh, we should pay attention. We should be more aware because this is happening for a reason. Why is it happening? Instead of just blaming all these other tidbits that don't actually matter to the entire situation. But when you're focusing on yourself and your mental health, that can't be seen as selfish. But you also need to be aware, like we said, of other people around you. How do you balance between those two things?
Well, first of all, what you said is what I see a lot with adults. The reason they kill themselves, and then it becomes all about them. Like, how selfish are you? And so thank you for making that point. How you balance it. And people ask me that because of the line of work I do. It's about being self-aware. It's about knowing your body, your mind, and that connectedness that when you need to take a break, you take a break. When you're tired, you go to bed. And so how you balance it, you first have to create a sense of wellness for yourself, whatever that looks like for you. Being kind to yourself, doing the things that keep you in a positive, uplifting mood. Concentrating on things that are positive and that are uplifting. That's how you balance. And it looks different for everybody. For me, I get up every morning and I pray and I have a devotion when my house is quiet. I start my house that way. I start my day that way. And that kind of sets the tone for me. There are some days I can see 7 clients and I'm good. And there are some days when I can see 6 clients and I'm like, woo, I got to go home and look at something real funny to kind of balance it out. So you have to be self-aware and know thyself. So how do you begin to do that? I'm glad y'all wanted to ask that question. So we're going to do something real quick because I always like this to be interactive. So we're going to do it real quick. So I want each of you to close your eyes. What we're going to do is take a body scan. Okay, a quick body scan, but just know it goes slower than this. So I want everybody's eyes closed. And so I want you to concentrate on the top of your head and your face. I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose and let it out. I want you to notice anything going on with your head or face. Do you have a headache? Does your face feel tight? Then I want you to move down to your neck and your shoulders. Take a deep breath in and let it out. What do you notice that's going on in your shoulders? Are your shoulders tense? Are they loose and relaxed? Then I want you to move down to your stomach and chest. Take a deep breath in and out. What do you notice that's going on with your stomach? Is your stomach growling? Do you have butterflies in your stomach? Is your stomach in knots or is it relaxed? Then move down to your thighs. Take a deep breath in and out. Are your thighs tight or are they loose? What do you notice that goes on with your body? And we're going to move down to our calves and toes. Take a deep breath in and out. What are you noticing that's going on in your body? And so you can open your eyes. I do that. I call that a body scan. It is a body inventory. And of course, I go slower than that. But you are really going piece by piece and noticing what's going on in your body. Why is that important? Because our mental health impacts our physical body. Do you know that there are people that get so stressed that they have chronic constipation? There are people that get so stressed that they have headaches. Again, everything is connected. So when you are more self-aware of what's going on with your body, then you're more likely to do those things that help regulate your mood. So for example, for me, if I've had a hard day, I'm either going to watch something funny, I'm going to ride my bike. In the summertime, when I really need a break, I'm going to go kayaking. All of those things balances us out. How do you keep yourself regulated? I tell everybody, we sleep on deep breathing. Deep breathing is so important, and I'm sure Dr. Nick can tell you more about this, but it helps bring your body back in balance. And so I want you to just keep those things in mind as you start to like, wow, okay, now I have a little bit more information. I want to begin the conversation, and it's okay if you don't know everything about mental health, because none of us do. But I think what's important is that we start the conversation with no shame and no judgment. What else y'all got?
This has been amazing. I mean, I wish we had a whole nother hour or 2 hours. We can talk about this. We're gonna have to bring you back, you guys. How does that sound? We need to do a part 2.
Yes.
Definitely need to do a part 2. So I want to, as we are getting to our time, I want to give them some opportunities to give final questions. You all have any final questions that you want to ask Ms. Carter?
I have one. So my question is, like what do you do when all you've done, when you have someone that's gone through like those like thoughts, and you've done all you can to like help them, and what do you do when they just like don't want help anymore at some point? Like I feel like you don't want to like give up on them. Like what do you do when they just feel like they don't want to like get help anymore?
That's a hard one. And I don't know the answer to that. As a clinician, I see teens that don't want help. And so that's something that I struggle with. But what we can do is what we're doing now. I have a saying, we can't help everybody, but we can provide help to those that need it. All you can do is go to them and offer help. That's all you can do. We can't force anybody to heal. We can't force anybody to take our information. But what we can do is present the information to them. And so it's frustrating. You're going to have some mixed emotions because you see this person in great need. But as I said earlier, healing is a choice. There is help out there. It is. It's so much help. But they have to be willing to take the first move. And a lot of times, what I found, people want to know that you're willing to help. That there's somebody that's going to help me. Sometimes that's all they need, but that's a tough one. I struggle with that. I wish I had a better answer. But there are going to be some people. We had one of the top board people in the American Foundation of Suicide Prevention. Top guy, been in our organization for a while. His son committed suicide. So look at the great work. I think last year was a pastor who was a mental health. He talked about it. He committed suicide. So it's tough. Suicide is real. Mental illness is real. And the conversation I always have with parents, they say, oh, they're just doing that. They're just doing that because they want some attention. And the first thing I say is, if they're doing it because of that, then that in itself is a problem. What is the unmet need? So we have to continue to educate and to change the language. Anybody else?
Awesome. Well, I think this has been an amazing conversation, and one that we are definitely going to continue. We definitely have to have a part 2 because we can't address everything. But I think all the knowledge that you have given just in this time has been amazing and so insightful and enlightening. I know to me, and I'm sure to our panelists and to those that are watching. So in the last a few minutes, we have about 4 minutes left. I want to ask Ms. Carter, you talked about the resources that are available, that there's help out there. What are some things that our young people can do, or what help is available for them?
So I want to encourage you. One thing that we're doing as an organization, we have a program called More Than Sad, and everything is done virtual. Where we go is just for teenagers, where they come out and talk about suicide prevention. So American Foundation of Suicide Prevention offers free training. I also facilitate it's called a training called Talk Save Lives. That's another training to educate. It's free. What I encourage, I want everybody to get your phones out. And I want you to download the My GCal app. It's free. The Georgia Crisis Line has a mobile unit. And share this information with your parents. And what they would do, if you have somebody, a friend, let's say you're somewhere and it's just y'all, I don't know what that would be. But that's a number that you can also call. They would take information. They would send a mobile crisis unit out to you. Let's say if you was in any situation and you couldn't get in touch with mom or dad, or an adult, I don't know, and you're just out somewhere, that is another great resource. The American Foundation, we did get legislation passed to where we're going to have a 3-digit number coming out in 2022, 23. It just passed the FDA, where it's like 911, 411. We have that coming out too. So going to American.
Can you go back to the app and actually spell that out? What was that again? Can you?
It's My GCal. So GCAL, and you can download it. That's the Georgia Crisis Hotline. Share it with your parents. I get calls frequently when people say, I have a cousin, I have an uncle, they are, they're acting abnormal. Like I said, that's the mobile crisis unit. They'll send, they'll take the information and do a self-assessment, and they can send somebody out for more details.
And is there a phone number or a hotline that they can have as well?
Now, you would ask me that, and my mind just went blank. See, I'm so comfortable in my own skin.
That's all right.
My mind just went blank. But yes, the Georgia Crisis. Let me give you the number.
So right now we have the app. There's a program called More Than Sad. So that is a free virtual program. So you guys can research that and look that up. Make sure you download the app, and then the number to the crisis center is
1-800-715-4225.
One more time.
1-800-715-4225. And that is the Georgia Crisis and Access Line. Yep, that's it. Thank you guys for having me. I hope that you gave us something that that has encouraged you to have a conversation with your friends. Like Dr. Nicole said, there is so much I didn't get to, but I look forward to the opportunity to come back and just sharing with you guys some more.
Definitely. We thank you for your time, for your expertise, and sharing your heart. And we can hear your passion. And James, thank you for enlightening us and increasing our awareness. And we would definitely have you back again for part 2 So we can get a little deeper into this conversation, and truly helping our young people out there. So thank you again. Thank you, panelists, for your amazing questions. You guys are always wonderful. So you guys, this is Hype Teen TV. This is why we're here. This is why we created this platform, so we can talk about the teen issues that your teens are going through. So again, we will be back on the first of the month. So we're here every first and third Sunday at 4:00. So save the date. We'll be back again on the first Sunday with another hot topic for teens, and we'll tackle it then. So you guys make sure you stay safe and stay blessed. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.